Hello and welcome to the Dundas Valley Art Heart Program. This is week 7 of our first round, and today we're going to be exploring flow and letting go with a couple of different exercises. So to start off, I'd like you to grab a piece of paper that is separate from your journal, and I'd like you to think about what you'd like to let go of as you enter your creative space today. What would it help you to let go of so that you can more fully enter your art making practice? So writing down a few things onto your paper, you can write them down, you can create a scribble or a symbol that represents what you'd like to let go of, and taking a few minutes to write down what those things are. Once you're finished writing down what you're letting go of, I'll invite you to tear up your paper. Tear it up. Really let go of all of those things that are on your paper. Once you're finished tearing it up, I'll invite you to transform what you're letting go of into something new. So you might want to glue down your pieces of paper, you may want to add something to them using different art materials. It is totally up to you, but using your creativity to transform what you're letting go of into something new. So as you finish, just noticing, what are you letting go of, or what have you already let go of? Noticing what it was like to rip up your work. If this is the first time you've ripped up your work, really feeling what that felt like. It doesn't always feel natural to tear up something that we've worked on. And just reflecting on what it was like to transform what you're letting go of. What emerged from this process for you, and how are you feeling now? Just noticing all of those things as we go into this next part of the exercise. So the next part, we're going to look at doing wet on wet with watercolors. And if you're not familiar with watercolors, one way of working with them is by making your paper fully wet and then introducing color onto the paper. So to demonstrate how this wet on wet technique works, first you're going to begin by introducing some water onto your page, not giving a whole lot of attention to where the water is going, or if you're covering the entire page or missing any spots. Don't worry about any of that, just introducing some water to the page. And then once your page is sufficiently wet, you're going to play with some color. Now you guys have different watercolors than the ones that I'm working with. You're just going to want to get the color wet enough that you can introduce it. And then you're going to just introduce it onto the page and notice what happens. Notice what happens in the really wet parts of the page versus the parts that have maybe started to dry. Maybe adding a little bit more water and noticing what happens when you do that. Watercolors can be quite magical, and they can also be quite frustrating sometimes. So just noticing what is coming up for you as you explore this process. And if you like, you might introduce a light colored crayon. Just maybe doing a scribble. Not paying too much attention to what's happening, what you're creating with the scribble. And then introducing some water over that and watching what happens once you introduce color to this wet section of your paper. What happens with the crayon? I'll invite you to just invite a sense of play. There is no right or wrong way to do this. The purpose of this is to just explore, avoiding, if you can, judging what's coming out on the page or giving it value as beautiful or ugly. Just letting the process of being with this wet on wet technique guide you. So as you finish the exercise, you may want to reflect on, as you're working with this wet on wet technique, what do you notice is in your control? What do you notice is out of your control? And what has it felt like to let go into this process? And you might notice how your control or lack thereof influenced the images and the shapes that emerged. What might emerge in your life today if you're able to release that control? To close today, I thank you for joining me and participating in this exploration of letting go with watercolor and ripping up paper. And I'll leave you with these words from an anonymous writer who says, "I awoke to the quiet hum of morning, before the birds began their songs and the cars began their clamor, before the sun peeked over the eastern border and struck the first chords of its daybreak sonata, burning away the blanket of dawn. I laid in a bed of silence and surrender, letting my heart free to attune with the vastness of the stars in the sky, the boundless quiet found in the center of stillness. How loud can it be to trust the process and let what is be free?" Thank you again so much for joining me for this week of the Dundas Valley Art to Heart program. I hope you have a wonderful week and that you find creativity